The children of the gods, also known as the Lizardmen, are an ancient and intelligent race. They are the true inheritors of the world, and they march to cleanse the lands of the other races that are not included in the Great Plan. Representing the true embodiment of a predatory warrior is the saurus. They form the backbone of the Lizardmen armies, and they stand taller than a man, as muscular as an orc, and its body is protected by hard scales. Even unarmed, they are extremely dangerous in their own right thanks to these features. It is said that the saurus can crush steel with their jaws, and their sharp claws can shatter stone with a well-placed attack. These creatures were created for the sole purpose of waging war, and through history they have exterminated entire species from the world. Between some of the most revered and feared saurus warriors in history stands tall the name of Kroq-Gar, also titled the Last Defender of Xhotl. Kroq-Gar's path seemed to be marked for greatness since his first breath. He and his brothers, born from the same spawning circle, were said to be particularly skilled in the arts of war, and held in even greater control over the primal forces of the jungles. Quite the achievements amongst their already ferocious kind. But nothing more than a humble beginning compared to the deeds and feats he would one day accomplish. If you want to make your own history and leave your own mark on the world, you can do so in Rise of Kingdoms, today's video sponsor. Rise of Kingdoms is a real-time strategy game with a variety of civilizations you can choose to begin your journey. The Roman Empire has now begun its relentless expansion over Persia, with deadly war machines, chariots, and remarkable infantry. They are crushing all defenses lined up against them. Meanwhile, the Vikings prepare themselves for imminent war. These proven and hardened warriors have seen 1,000 battles. Leaving the great halls of their ancestors, the Vikings now join the fray and the quest for domination. For the glories of battle, the forge of war, and the joy of the feast awaits them. Being able to control any civilization and drive your own kingdom to glory, which side will you choose? Bjorn and Ragnar Lodbrok decided to join forces and crush their opposition, rewriting history in the process. What will your mark be? Join us. Compete with 100 million players from all over the world and build your own empire. Download Rise of Kingdoms for free now and vote for your favorite civilization, Roman or Viking. Join the event and get a chance to win amazing prizes. Check the link in the description. One of the first remarkable accomplishments of Kroq-Gar was nothing less than the taming of his lifelong companion, the mighty carnosaur named Grimlock. It happened that in one night, many ages ago, Kroq-Gar's dreams were haunted by visions of slaughter and cries of war that seemed to seep into his mind. He rose from his green pallet and decided to walk through his temple city of Xhotl and find a pond to refresh himself. He strolled under the dim light of the full moon, its gentle rays communing with the warmth given off by the torches scattered through the city, shaken by a gentle breeze blowing from the jungles. When Kroq-Gar found a pond, He was caught by the crystal-clear water's reflection of the golden city, and for a short time, he felt the sense of peace he had been searching for. However, thereupon his predatory senses twitched. Something was stalking him. In a flash, a carnosaur sprinted from a cluster of trees a couple of dozen feet behind him. Kroq-Gar immediately dodged out of the way of the hulking mass that found itself almost plummeting into the pond's water. He identified the rushed move of a still, inexperienced hunter, and judging by the predator's size, he understood that it wasn't yet fully grown. Skinks, sauruses, and Kroq-Gars all gathered to neutralize and return the escaped beast to its cage, but Kroq-Gar specifically asked for none to interfere. There was an innate sense of pride that he found in the duel he was now locked in with the creature, and he intended to see it through. So, unsheathing his weapon, the fight began. The two battled for what felt like an eternity, as the Lizardmen of the city gathered around to witness the titanic display of might. The two seemed equally skilled, equally matched. Where the Carnosaur trampled with his strength and endurance, Kroq-Gar responded with vastly superior speed and dexterity. The skinks cowered, whilst sauruses and Kroq-Gars tensed at every attack, for any one of them could have been the one to put a finish to the fight. And yet neither of the two combatants ever managed to land the killing blow. By sunrise, exhausted, they both dropped to the battered soil. As if up to that moment their swords and claws had been moved by rage and pride. Now, however, they felt something different between them, something binding them. It was mutual respect, a primal sense of respect, a subtle, mutual regard. And with that newfound bond, the two would train onwards to become one of the single most destructive forces in the new world. Then, the great catastrophe hit, and everything that was meant to be changed forever. Chaos had arrived, and at its back came the endless armies that, like the darkest of shadows, loomed over Xhotl. After centuries passed in the service of his city, Kroq-Gar knew that destiny had finally caught up to him, and he was ready to bring all his wrath and might to meet it. As the Lizardmen were pushed back from the battlefields to their city, the Slans erected great geomantic barriers, so to make it impossible for the demons to manifest inside the Temple of Xhotl. Meanwhile, the bodies at the city's gates started piling up in mountains of mauled, blood-soaked meat. Yet Kroq-Gar and Grimlock remained dauntless. Sweeping through line after line of demons, their combined might was only matched by the greatest death dealers the servants of the dark gods could muster. With the support of his fellow kin, the saurus and the mighty Carnosaur formed an impenetrable wall that was only ever so slightly being pushed back by the endless tides. but their forces alone could only withstand so many enemies. And eventually, the geomantic barriers that protected the city were shattered. Taking advantage of a surge of uncontrolled magic energy, the demons infiltrated the city and butchered the Slans to the very last. With their mage priests doomed to oblivion, the once proud city of Xhotl was finally broken. And yet Kroq-Gar did not stop fighting. He should have battled to the very end, and fell together with his city. But he still had an army of survivors, fellow Lizardmen to fight for. Rallying the warriors around him, he managed to form a ram head to smash the forces of chaos and leave Xhotl. The war, however, was far from over. Kroq-Gar and his ageless carnosaur Grimlock advanced through the jungles, trapped by the army of Chaos's never-ceasing trail of destruction. For many years, the two warriors and their dwindling army slaughtered demon host after demon host without pause. One day hoping of finding a way to turn back to civilization and finally rest. Eventually that day came, as the elves enacted their great ritual on the distant Isle of Ulthuan, banishing the demons from the mortal world as the demonic hosts disappeared or were outright killed. Kroq-Gar and Grimlock were left alone. Losing kin at every battle, the proud saurus leader and the carnosaur remained the only survivors of those cruel years of fighting. Freed from the creatures that came from the war, the now legendary Lizardman, who was drenched in blood and viscera from head to toe, they finally emerged from the ruptured jungles and found respite. It was none other than Lord Mazdamundi himself, the Lord of the Solar City, the High Slan Mage Priest of Xhotl, who rescued them from death's edge. In Xhotl, the Slan used his powers to heal and restore both back to health. But he didn't stop there. Struck by his might and prowess, Mazdamundi named Kroq-Gar the new general of his saurus armies, and gifted him the tools to aptly serve him, and most above all, the great plan. The Hand of the Gods, a magical clawed gauntlet, capable of rending enemies apart and blasting hot spheres of light. Together with it came the crown symbol of his new title, the revered Spear of Tlanxla, once wielded by the Old One's warlike deity. A golden weapon with the power of damning those stricken with visions of doom, capable of breaking even the mightiest of wills. With these new weapons of war, Kroq-Gar was now tasked to bring terror and ruin to all those who would dare oppose the great plan. So he marched out of Xhotl, together with Grimlock as his steed, and his new impetuous armies, ready and determined to fight any and all those who would have stood between him. From that day onward, Kroq-Gar, now the new Lizardman warlord, made his fury manifest to all continents of the world, ravaging Druki lines in the north, slaughtering greenskins to the east, butchering Skaven to the west, and tearing apart chaos worshippers in the south. He would make sure that the entire world would know the fury of the Last Defender of Xhotl.
Amid the darkness and horror of our world splintering apart, the armies of the true creators, we who were ancient and the dawn of time, will march forth once more. We shall sweep away all that is chaos and disorder, for ours is the true path, and none shall defy us.
Leave your own mark on civilization with Rise of Kingdoms. Check the link in the description below to download Rise of Kingdoms now for free, and vote for your favorite civilization, Roman or Viking. On this channel, we are putting together narrative Total War cinematic battles and Warhammer lore videos. A special thank you goes to our Patreon supporters who help us in the making of more content. You can also join Patreon and earn extra perks while supporting the videos to come. Find the link in the description below. Make sure to subscribe, and thank you for watching. See you on the next one.